Boom, there we go. Huh, wait a minute. Is that the super rare skeleton dragon? No way.
I think I found some of the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns in the entire world because the speedrunners are absolutely terrible at hiding the fact that they're literally cheating. This speedrun starts in a desert, and if we look on the right, we can see a desert pyramid. But wait, if we also look at their coordinates in the top left, we can see that they're not 0, 0, which means that this spawn is actually not legit. Well, the speedrunner begins to look around, and not only is there a pyramid, there's also a village. But guess what? There's another pyramid. So they expect us to believe that they spawn next to 2 pyramids and a village. That's gonna be the luckiest spawn I've ever seen. Well, the speedrunner runs to one of the pyramids, and once they're there, they dig down and loot the first chest, which has a diamond. They take the diamond, some gold, and some blocks, and then loot the second chest, which also has a diamond. They take the diamond, and guess what happens when they loot the third chest? They find another diamond. I'm sure the speedrunner is just extremely lucky because whenever they loot the fourth chest, they find another diamond, and also a golden apple. They build out of the pyramid and make their way towards the village. They go up to a house and look through the window where they can see a chest. But watch very carefully for what happens whenever they loot this chest. Did you see it? Well, whenever they were going towards the village, they only had 4 diamonds and 9 gold. But whenever they looted the chest that only had bread, they suddenly had 4 diamonds, 9 gold, 12 bread, and 2 ender pearls. Even though the chest had no ender pearls inside of them. So if we rewind the footage, we can see that whenever they got to the village, they suddenly picked up 2 ender pearls. Which, in case you couldn't tell, is just not legit. Well, they started exploring more of the village. But wait, if we rewind the footage and pause it here, we can see what appears to be a polar bear inside of a hole. But the part that makes this extremely confusing is that polar bears only spawn in the nether. So a polar bear being in the desert literally makes no sense. This speedrunner starts going inside of several of the villagers' houses and breaking the beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. But inside of one of the houses, they find a chest which has some obsidian. They then make their way towards another house and find another chest which has even more obsidian. So now they have 6 obsidian, and to make another portal, you need a total of 10. But that's okay because the speedrunner enters another house and they find the last 4 obsidian that they need. But they also find some iron, which you know is definitely not fake. Well, before they make the nether portal, they find a crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They then begin constructing themselves a nether portal, and once they complete it, they realize that they don't have anything to light the portal with. So they go inside the same house that they were in before and open the furnace to find a fire charge. Which I don't even think I have to say this, but that is completely fake. Well, the speedrunner takes the fire charge and goes back towards the nether portal and lights it and then enters the nether. Once they're in the nether, some weird stuff starts happening because we can see this extremely long soul sand path. So of course the speedrunner starts going across the path, and I'm gonna speed up the footage because this path is extremely long. And when I say long, I mean long. Well, the path leads them to a fortress where they find some blazes. So the speedrunner fights the blazes, but wait, did you see that? Every single time they hit the blaze, it didn't move at all. It just stayed inside the same exact spot. But you know, maybe it's just a glitch. Well, the speedrunner goes up to the next blaze, and they keep on hitting it from around the corner, but the blaze just does not move. And the same can be said about this blaze as well. So I think something fishy is going on here. Well, they kill the blazes until they have 2 blaze rods. They turn their blaze rods into blaze powder to make themselves 2 eyes of ender. But whenever you speedrun Minecraft, you usually get like 12 eyes of ender, not 2. But you'll see why they only need 2 later in the speedrun. They begin making their way back towards the nether portal, and after 8 years of walking, they finally make it. Once they're back in the overworld, they wander around for quite some time until they find a crafting table and they make themselves some iron boots. They then find this dead bush on the ground and for some reason start digging straight down below it, which you know isn't suspicious at all. They keep on digging straight down until they find themselves in the stronghold. Yeah, so you're expecting me to believe that the speedrunner spawned on top of the stronghold? Yeah, right. The speedrunner breaks the spawner and places in their 2 eyes of ender. But before they jump into the portal, they turn around and find this weird looking lava. How is the lava not flowing normally? I am so confused. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the portal. Once they're in the end, we can see that there's actually no enderman, which is very confusing because we saw blazes in the nether, which means they're not on peaceful mode. So the fact that there's no enderman here is genuinely just confusing. The ender dragon hits the speedrunner several times and they actually get extremely low. Well, the speedrunner sets up a bed trap for the ender dragon, but before they can even blow up one bed, they die. And I think the speedrunner gets extremely mad because the speedrun just ends there. This speedrunner starts in a plains biome. They end up finding an iron golem and they kill it, even though iron golems only spawn inside of villages, and this is clearly not a village. They then begin mining a tree to make themselves a crafting table, which they use to give themselves a bucket. And then out out of nowhere, a creeper comes and blows them up. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers and I'm not even halfway there, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean the world to me. This speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see the very tip of a house right in front of them. The speedrunner makes her way into the village and starts mining a tree. They mine 1, 2, 3, 4 logs and make themselves some sticks and a crafting table. They find a pile of hay bales and make their way towards it and begin mining it. They mine 10 hay bales and begin running away, but wait, did you see that? They have a diamond in their third hotbar slot, but they were just mining wheat, so how the heck did they get a diamond? Well, if you look very carefully at this frame here, we can see a little bit of a diamond above the hay inside their hand, and as they got closer, they picked it up. But a diamond being on the ground randomly like this literally makes zero sense. Well, they begin heading towards the coast of the village until they suddenly start digging straight down, where of course they find a chest. Inside the chest is buried treasure loot, but buried treasure can only spawn beneath sand, and this chest was beneath dirt, making this not legit. But they take a lot of the loot and build out of the hole and place on their crafting table to turn their hay bales into wheat so they can have tons of bread. They also make an iron pickaxe, an iron sword, a shield, and golden pants. They begin exploring more of the village and they find the iron golem, which they hit and try fighting the iron golem, but they're very clearly gonna lose, so they just run away. But they come back a little while later and they build 3 blocks up so they can easily kill the iron golem, and they use that iron to make themselves an iron helmet. They then find a villager's house and enter it to find a chest, which has an odd amount of obsidian, but maybe they're just lucky. Well, they go in another villager's house to find even more obsidian, and they find another house which has more obsidian and a flint and steel, which allows them to make the nether portal. So they build themselves another portal and light it and enter the nether. Once they're in the nether, they wander around for a little bit until some hoglin things start attacking them, and the speedrunner is right on the edge, so if they get hit one more time, they're going to die. But the speedrunner turns around and jumps off the edge just to land on a vine. But wait, that vine is extremely long. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure vines don't grow to be that long. Well, they're now in the fortress, and they're right next to a blaze spawner. They start killing tons of blazes, and they even eat their enchanted golden apple. They eventually have 3 blaze rods, and they leave the nether. Once they're in the overworld, they run away from the village and just wander around for quite some time. That is until they find this weird red flower on the side of an island. So they dig directly beneath the flower until eventually they find themselves in the stronghold. So they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and use their ender pearls to make themselves eyes of ender. But wait, are you realizing what I'm realizing? They used their ender pearls to make themselves eyes of ender. But not once in this entire speedrun did we ever see them gain any ender pearls. So how could they have possibly gotten ender pearls? But they place in their 6 eyes of ender, which happen to be the exact right amount that they needed. They jump into the end portal, and once in the end, they are pretty high up from the island. They check their inventory for anything that they can catch their fall with, and they find a ladder. Even though once again, I don't remember them ever building a ladder. They grab the ladder and they see a block that they can possibly ladder clutch on. So they jump off the edge and they easily make the ladder clutch. I'm not gonna lie, that was very impressive. Well, they make their way closer to the portal, but wait, I don't see an ender dragon anywhere. So this end might just be glitched. Well, as they get closer, they find a sign that says, "The dragon is pooping." Well, I guess the ender dragon is just using the bathroom. So the speedrunner goes to the portal and beats the speedrun. This first speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see what appears to be a blacksmith right next to them. They begin to head towards the village, and they enter this first house. But watch carefully for what happens whenever they open this chest. As we can see, they looted the chest, giving them some bread, some saplings, an apple, and even a book. So how do they have 3 ink sacs? Well, if we rewind the footage, we can see another player's arm through this window, and this person drops the speedrunner the ink sacs. But I'm confused why the speedrunner even needs ink sacs to begin with. Well, they leave this house and begin going towards the blacksmith. And before they open the chest, this is where things get very, very weird, because inside of the chest is so many diamonds. So they take everything out of the chest and leave the blacksmith. They find some hay bales and begin taking all of the hay bales. Once they're finished doing that, they begin to enter another house. But wait, if we rewind the footage, we can see that this house door was already open, which typically never happens because villagers always close the door behind them, which means the speedrunner must have left this door open on accident. Once they're inside the house, they look at the roof, and out of nowhere, they're in a crafting table, which is genuinely just confusing. But the speedrunner turns the hay bales into wheat, and the wheat into bread. They then use their diamonds to make themselves basically full diamond armor except for a helmet. They put on the diamond armor and leave the house. And instead of exploring more of the village, the speedrunner begins to leave the village. They begin walking down this river until they see a ruined portal in front of them. But once again, if we rewind the footage, we can see that for some reason there is just a breeze sitting here, which is actually a mob in the newest update. And they don't just randomly spawn above ground like this, because they can only spawn in end cities, which makes the fact of this breeze being here very, very confusing. Well, they completely ignore it and just head towards the ruined portal. They open the chest and find a god apple, which, don't get me wrong, it is possible. It is just extremely rare. They take the rest of the loot inside the chest as well. They then just look at the ruined portal, then turn around, then turn back around, and the portal is suddenly fixed, which I have a weird suspicion could have been that player that we saw earlier. The speedrunner then goes through the portal, and once they're in the nether, they begin mining a tree. And everything seems normal at first until they suddenly get dropped some blaze rods. But it doesn't stop there, because they also get dropped some ender pearls as well, which once again, I believe is the player that we saw earlier. They then access their inventory and turn their blaze rods into blaze power to make themselves some eyes of ender. Now that they have eyes of ender, they go back into the portal to go into the overworld. Now instead of throwing their ender eyes like a normal speedrunner would, they begin randomly walking around until they find a random hole which they go inside of, and what the heck? This is the most random stuff I have ever seen, where the speedrunner just places in the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they just walk around normally until some arrows and a bow randomly fall from the sky. Now that the speedrunner has a bow and arrow, they can break all of the end crystals. But the speedrunner is shooting like 2 feet in front of them, but the end crystals are somehow breaking. And they do this over and over again until eventually all of the end crystals break. And if you thought these shenanigans would stop there, you're completely wrong, because they do this against the ender dragon as well, constantly shooting 2 blocks in front of them, but the ender dragon is somehow taking damage. And eventually the ender dragon dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. This speedrun starts pretty normal until we can see the speedrunner's friend inside chat. But whenever you speedrun, you're only allowed to speedrun by yourself, which means this speedrun is probably going to be fake. The speedrunner's friend mines a tree, but it took them 0.8 seconds to mine it, when trees typically take 1 second to mine. So I think the speedrunner's friend has efficiency on their hand or something. Well, they make a wooden pickaxe and mine all day long. It's now nighttime, so a zombie begins attacking them, but the speedrunner's friend has a torch, so they survive. The speedrunner finds a village and begins trading with a villager, but the villager has some terrible trades. So the speedrunner tries to punch them, but an iron golem comes out of nowhere, and he is not happy. The speedrunner gets absolutely destroyed by the iron golem. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It is literally my dream to one day reach 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not even halfway there. So if you could help me get one step closer towards my dream, that would genuinely make my entire day. This speedrun seems like it's pretty professional because they start with a timer in the top corner. But once they load in, they start in their 4th hotbar slot, which is an immediate sign that the speedrun could be fake because you always start in your 1st hotbar slot. Where the speedrunner turns around and finds a pyramid. They break some dead bushes on their way towards the pyramid, ultimately giving them 8 sticks. Well, they enter the pyramid and break a block, and once the block breaks, they land down below. They open the first chest, which has normal loot. They take the gold and a sand block and open the next chest, which also has normal loot. They open the 3rd chest, which also has normal loot, but there is also a diamond, which is a pretty lucky thing to get out of a pyramid chest. But as soon as they get the diamond, we can see inside chat that they got the achievement diamonds, which means if they did indeed go inside a creative and place this diamond inside there, they would have already gotten the achievement beforehand. So that means that they never placed the diamond inside this chest, and it's actually legit. But the speedrunner opens the next chest and finds some more diamonds. Not only that, but there's also a golden chest plate, and golden chest plates cannot naturally spawn inside of pyramid chests. So maybe the diamonds were fake, but the golden chest plate definitely is. The speedrunner takes the diamonds, some blocks, and the golden chest plate. They then use the blocks to build out of the pyramid. They then begin wandering in a random direction until they suddenly see a village on their left and a ruined portal on their right. But before they go to either one, they first mine a tree. They mine 3 logs and make themselves a crafting table. They then place down the crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They start heading towards the ruined portal, and once they're there, they look for a chest, but they cannot find it. So instead, they clear out the lava and begin mining the crying obsidian so they can actually form a portal. They mine 2 crying obsidian, and then they mine the corner block of the portal and place it at the top. They take the gold block, and they start digging around to try and find the chest. And eventually, they find it. But the chest only has 2 obsidian, and normally a ruined portal chest would have a lot more stuff than just 2 obsidian. Well, either way, they take the 2 obsidian and finish the portal, but they don't have a flint flint and steel. But they close your inventory and reopen it and find a flint and steel which somehow even duplicates. So now they have 2. Now if you were expecting me to explain how they somehow did that, I'm sorry, I have no idea how they did that. Well, they light the portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a pretty bad spawn. But that's when they suddenly start digging in the wall. They start by building a staircase up and eventually just start digging straight. They do this for a decent amount of time until they somehow find themselves inside of a bastion. And there's a lot of brutes coming for them. So they start by hitting their feet and then they use their flint and steel to light all the brutes on fire. Eventually, they all die and the speedrunner can now loot the chests which have some normal loot other than the fact that there's some ender pearls inside of them, which is of course not normal loot. They take the ender pearls and some other loot as well, and then they loot the second chest which also has ender pearls, giving them a total of 5 ender pearls. They then begin making their way back towards their tunnel and they go back into the portal even though they don't have blaze rods. Once they're back in the overworld, they start running in the direction where they believe they saw the village from before. Eventually they do find it, but they also find a weird sand path that goes across the lake right here, which is very obviously not naturally generated. The speedrunner does some very cool block placements, which makes me believe that they're actually good at speedrunning. So the fact that they're cheating is genuinely just confusing. They also do some weird bridging for literally no reason. I guess they're just trying to show off or something. Once they're in the village, they start by mining some hay bales, and they go around the village a little bit, and we can see tons and tons of iron golems. Even though each village inside of Minecraft usually only has 1 iron golem. The speedrunner suddenly mines a wall and opens a barrel to find 5 blaze powder, which is obviously fake. They take the 5 blaze powder and mine through a village's fence and into their grass just to find an end portal under their house, which of course is only missing 5 eyes of ender. So the speedrunner goes in their inventory and makes 5 eyes of ender and places in all the eyes to enter the end. Once they're in the end, there's already a hole for them to go up, so they place down blocks until they're at the top. And this part of the speed run is very, very weird because as we can see, there are tons of endermen, there's just no ender dragon. And instead of going in the portal, the speedrunner spams random blocks and then they go in the portal. And they finish with a time of 7 minutes and 43 seconds, giving them the new world record. This speedrunner loads into the world and we can see they spawn in a savanna biome. But if we look right here, we can see what appears to be a farm, which means the speedrunner probably spawned right next to a village. But the speedrunner starts by going towards the village and they take 4 hay bales. They then begin mining a tree where they take 2 logs and turn the 2 logs into planks, which they use for sticks and a crafting table. And now at this part, I want you to listen to what the speedrunner is saying.
I can't believe we got this lucky with a village. Yes.
But that's not what I want you to focus on. Instead, if we look in the top right, we can see a floating thing of water, which could be a world generation glitch, but I'm honestly not too sure. Well, the speedrunner goes up to a villager's house and says this.
Let's see this house. What do we got? Oh, a chest. Yes.
Did you see what I saw? Well, if you didn't hear, I'll tell you. As soon as they walked into the village, we can see a pressure plate on the ground. And as soon as they stepped on the pressure plate, they gained a diamond. Now, what happens next makes this speedrun insanely obvious that it's fake.
Acacia sapling, gold nugget, and short grass. Yes. Oh my god. I'm so happy. I can literally celebrate. Let's go. I got so much good stuff. Oh my goodness. Yes.
The speedrunner acted like they were celebrating and dancing, when in reality, they were just walking on and off the pressure plate so they could get some more diamonds. Where the speedrunner places down their crafting table and makes himself a diamond pickaxe and also a diamond sword. Now at this point, I thought the speedrunner could not get weirder than this, but I was wrong because this happens.
Alright, hopefully we can find some more super... Oh my goodness! No way! We found watermelons! I've been looking for watermelons for so long! Finally, yes! It's like a dream come true!
Yeah, the speedrunner couldn't believe they found watermelons when right in front of them was a full set of iron armor. Because watermelons are way more important than iron armor, let's be honest. The speedrunner even says they can't believe they got lucky enough to find watermelon.
I cannot believe I got that lucky to find a watermelon!
Okay, let's just ignore the speedrunner for now. Well, the speedrunner goes inside of a house and finds a chest. And inside the chest is tons of obsidian and an iron ingot. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this stuff being inside the chest is completely fake. And the speedrunner's reaction honestly gives it away.
A chest, let's go! Oh my goodness, obsidian and iron! Oh my goodness, I feel so lucky today. Today is my lucky day!
Yeah, today is your lucky day, I'm sure. Well, the speedrunner leaves the house, but the speedrunner realizes that they're missing something, and they say this.
Oh my goodness, I have enough to make a portal now. Now all I need is a flint and steel, and all I have is an iron, but where the heck am I gonna get flint? Oh my goodness, gravel, no way.
Yeah, they found a pile of gravel that definitely doesn't look suspicious at all. Well, the speedrunner starts mining all of the gravel, and eventually they mine it all. But for some reason, the speedrunner doesn't get a flint. Or at least that's what I thought, until this happened.
Was there actually no flint? Oh my goodness, there was. I cannot believe I didn't see it somehow.
How could there have possibly been flint here? Because we just watched the speedrunner break all of the gravel and they got no flint. Which makes this very, very confusing. Not only that, but there's also a mushroom cow on the right side of the screen here, which the speedrunner for some reason doesn't even look at. And this is also very confusing because everybody knows that mushroom cows can only spawn inside of jungles. So I'm genuinely very confused why there is a mushroom cow here. When after the speedrunner has the flint, they make themselves a flint and steel and begin constructing the nether portal. They finish the nether portal and light the portal and enter the nether. But wait, before they get into the nether, I'm gonna warn you ahead of time that this part of the speedrun is absolutely crazy. Because once the speedrunner is inside the nether, they first look around to see if they got a good spawn.
Alright, hopefully I got a good spawn. Oh, this is not a good spawn. Oh no, I don't see a fortress or anything.
They said they got a bad spawn, and that's what I thought too, until this happened.
Oh my goodness gracious. Why is there a cat? Okay, let's ignore that. Oh my god, what the heck is this? Trade here? Oh my goodness, there's so many llamas!
Why is there a sign that says trade here with tons of llamas? More importantly, why was there a lever here and also a dispenser here? I have so many questions. Well, for some reason, the speedrunner thinks they can trade with llamas, so they drop their gold nugget and say they'll be back later.
And I'll be back in a little bit to see if I got any eyes of ender. Alright, you guys have fun. Bye-bye.
The speedrunner comes back to the llamas, but wait, I noticed something very, very suspicious here. So earlier, whenever they walked past the lever was flicked up. And now that they came back, the lever is flicked down. And I'm pretty sure this lever is connected to the dispenser that we saw earlier. So I think the speedrunner flicked the lever, which must have dropped something in the pile of llamas. And I'm pretty sure I'm right, because this happens.
Alright guys, I'm back. Hopefully I got some good stuff. Alright, let's see these. Oh my goodness, 5 eyes of ender. You guys are so nice. Oh my goodness, I love you llamas.
Yeah, the speedrunner said they loved the llamas, but ended up killing every single llama. This speedrunner is absolutely crazy, I'm not gonna lie. They even tried acting like they didn't know where the llamas went to.
Huh, where did all the llamas go? Not too sure. Well, I guess they had to go bye-bye or something. Well, I'm going back to the village. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm sure the llamas had to go bye-bye. You definitely didn't kill them. The speedrunner is now back in the village, and then something absolutely crazy happens.
Alright, we made it back to the village. Let me eat some watermelon. Oh, that's some good watermelon. Wait, what the heck? What the heck is that up there?
You know what? I'm done. What the heck just happened? The speedrunner looked right at the mushroom cow, but for some reason said nothing about it, which is genuinely just confusing. If I saw a mushroom cow in my world, I would definitely say something about it. Well, the speedrunner goes up to the stone brick that they saw in the mountain, and they mine through it just to find a stronghold. But they forgot the name of what the stronghold is called.
Let me see what this is. Oh my goodness! It is the secret. I forgot what you call it.
This is just embarrassing. I don't know what's happening. Well, the speedrunner goes up to the portal and they realize that they need 5 eyes of ender to finish the portal, which coincidentally, they have 5 eyes of ender in their inventory. They even say this to try to make it seem like they're just lucky when we know that they're clearly not.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what the heck? I need 5 eyes of ender and I have 5? Oh my goodness, that has got to be the most luckiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. You know what, sheep? You can go in the portal first. Let me know how it is.
I can't believe the speedrunner just sent a sheep into the end. Like, this speedrunner's gotta be crazy or something. Well, the speedrunner waits a little bit before they go into the end because they had the sheep test and make sure if it was safe or not. But of course, the sheep doesn't respond.
Oh, I think the sheep is not coming back.
Yeah, obviously the sheep is not coming back, let's be honest. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the portal and they find the sheep.
Oh, hello, sheep. You survived. Oh my goodness, thank goodness you survived. You're my only friend.
The speedrunner just said that the sheep was their only friend. So what do you think happens next? A, the speedrunner and the sheep have an epic battle where they defeat the ender dragon. B, the speedrunner makes sure the sheep is safe while they defeat the ender dragon. Or C, they kill the sheep. Come on, you gotta pick one, A, B, or C. Come on, hurry up, pick. All right, if you picked A, you are incorrect because it's C. Because of course it is. But the speedrunner turns around and finds a ladder. They climb the ladder and they start making their way towards the ender dragon. And the speedrunner says something that is very confusing.
And you know, it's a good thing I gathered beds earlier so I could kill the ender dragon with my beds.
If we rewind the footage and look at any point during the speedrun, we can see that the speedrunner not once picked up a bed. So where they got the beds from is genuinely very confusing. But they wait until the dragon perches, and once it does, they place down a bed which actually blows them up and gets them extremely low. But they're not done, because they end up just blowing themselves up, and their reaction is priceless.
Oh, what the heck? Wait, let me... What the heck? That's it, I'm done. Huh, you're mean.
They just called the ender dragon mean and then they rage quit. That is gonna be the most embarrassing speedrun I think I've ever watched. This first speedrun starts right next to a desert village. So the speedrunner starts heading towards the village and begins breaking wheat for some bread. Once they get 8 hay bales, they enter a house which for some reason has a turtle, even though I'm pretty sure turtles only spawn inside of the end. So the fact that there's a turtle right here is a little bit suspicious. Well, they punch the turtle and then leave the house. They then enter another house, but wait, if we rewind the footage and stop it here, we can see that the door was already open. But if they started a new world, a door would not already be open because villagers always open and then close the door behind them. Well, the speedrunner goes into the house and breaks the beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. They then open the chest, which actually has some normal loot. They take the bread from the chest and leave the house. They make their way towards another house, which has a door that's already opened. And once again, they take the beds and open the chest, and oh my goodness, why is there so much bread? Okay, well, they take all the bread and they now have 48 bread. I think that's enough food for a speedrun. They leave the house and wander around the village a little bit more until they enter a house which has a crafting table. They turn their hay bales into wheat and they now have over a stack of wheat. But for some reason, they only make 1 bread. Okay then. They leave the house and use their insane parkour skills to jump across this cave. And that's when they find another house. But if I pause it here, there is something very, very strange about this house. And if you didn't immediately see it, you need to get your eyes checked. Because the door is literally a spruce door. When if we look back at all the other houses, they were not spruce doors. Which if you ask me, is very, very strange. Well, the speedrunner enters this house and finds an iron pickaxe on the wall, which is actually legit and only has a 69% chance of spawning. They take the iron pickaxe and also take the bed and leave the house. They then jump into the cave and find a giant hole with some water. So they jump into the water and they find some gold. They mine the gold and find a nether portal? Okay. I didn't know nether portals could randomly spawn like this. But there is a problem. The speedrunner doesn't have a flint and steel. So how the heck are they possibly gonna light the nether portal? Wait, what? Did you guys just watch what I just watched? Yeah, I had to replay this like 11 times and I still have no idea how they did that. Well, now that the nether portal is lit, they enter the nether. And I'm warning you ahead of time, this nether goes crazy because they spawn in a random box. Not only that, there's also a sign that says not suspicious barrel. And right next to it is a barrel. So the speedrunner opens the barrel and finds tons of ender eyes. Oh my goodness, you don't even need that many ender eyes. Well, the speedrunner takes all of the ender eyes and leaves the nether. And now that they're back in the overworld, they realize that there is no way they're getting all the way back up because they have no blocks. So they turn around to go back into the nether. Wait, what are they doing? Oh my god, a ladder? The speedrunner climbs all the way up the ladder and breaks the sand at the top. And now they're at the surface of the cave. So they run out of the cave, and that's when I thought that they were gonna go back into the village. But instead, they run in a completely random direction. They keep running in this area for quite some time until they find this. Yup, this is definitely legit. The speedrunner places in all of their eyes of ender, and now that they're in the end, we can see that the ender dragon has literally 0 HP. I don't even know how it's alive. But the speedrunner places a super cool bed trap, and eventually the ender dragon perches. And once it gets close enough, the speedrunner blows up the bed and wins the speedrun in record time. The speedrunner starts right next to an acacia village. They just wander around for a little bit until they start breaking every single bed inside the village. They then somehow one-hit the iron golem, which I didn't even know was possible until I realized that it was literally Shrek. So this part actually does make sense. They mine a tree and make themselves a crafting table to make themselves a bucket. They fill their bucket up with water and throw it at a lava pool, and now they have a nether portal? Once I saw this part, I knew the speedrun was fake. Oh wait, I just realized this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, guys, why didn't you tell me? If you guys could just do me a huge favor and just simply subscribe, that would genuinely make my entire day. This next speedrun starts right next to a ruined portal. So the speedrunner starts off by running towards the portal, and once they get there, they open the chest, and the chest has some normal loot, like obsidian, golden carrots, and several golden tools. You know, the normal loot. They take all of this loot, but wait, if we pause it right here, we can see that the sun in the background is setting, which only happens if the world has been up for at least 10 minutes. But we're literally only 20 seconds into the speedrun, which proves that the speedrun is going to be fake. Well, they start mining some netherrack for some blocks, they fill in the rest of the nether portal, and then use their blocks to get rid of the lava. They then use the fire charge to light the portal, and then they enter the nether. Once the speedrunner is inside of the nether, they go to a random corner and then suddenly start digging straight down. But their golden pickaxe breaks, so they have to mine the rest of the netherrack with their fist. And after 20 seconds of mining, they fall into a hole. And this is when they turn on their coordinates. They then begin walking around like the coordinates are actually telling them something, and then they go into a random corner and start digging straight down. And they find a chest, and inside of it is tons of blaze rods. Okay, there is no way the coordinates told them that there was a secret chest right there. The speedrunner takes all of the blaze rods, and they now have 27, which is a lot more than you would typically need for a speedrun. The speedrunner suddenly turns on their coordinates once again, and they walk around some more until they suddenly think that there's something else beneath them. So they dig straight down again and find another chest. But this time, there's ender pearls inside of the chest. Okay, let's be honest, guys. This speedrun is completely cursed, and they now have everything they need to be able to go to the end. So the speedrunner starts making their way all the way back towards their portal, and eventually they make it there. Now that they're in the overworld, they start running around back and forth for a little bit, trying to remember where to go. Eventually, they figure it out and throw an ender pearl. And once it lands, they begin mining a tree. They get 6 logs and make it into a crafting table. They then use the crafting table to make themselves a boat, and they also make some doors. They place down their boat into the sea and then turn on their coordinates again, acting like they know what they're doing when, let's be honest, they have no idea what they're doing. They start sailing across the ocean for quite some time until eventually they get out of their boat. They swim down to the ocean floor and place their door. I did not mean to rhyme there, but you know, it sounded cool. They then dig straight down, and now they're right next to an end portal. So the speedrunner turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some eyes of ender. They then place in all of their eyes of ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they build up to the main island with some wood that they had, and if we pause it right here, we can see that there are 2 ender pearls just randomly laying there on the ground, which I'm gonna be honest is just simply not possible. Well, the speedrunner picks up both of the ender pearls and puts them into their hotbar. But wait, by now we should be able to see the ender dragon's health, but we just simply don't see it, which makes me believe that there's just simply no ender dragon in the end. But the reason I'm saying this now and not a little bit later when it's pretty obvious that there's no ender dragon is because the speedrunner looks into the eyes of an enderman and then throws an ender pearl to try to get away from it, and by some miracle the ender pearl lands directly in the middle of the portal, causing them to see the credits. This speedrunner's aim with ender pearls must be absolutely crazy for that to somehow happen. This speedrunner starts in the middle of nowhere, which is usually not the best start for a speedrun. But the speedrunner doesn't care, and they immediately just go over to mine a tree. They take 4 logs from the tree and turn them into planks, and they use those planks to make into a crafting table. The speedrunner then places down their crafting table, makes some sticks, and then makes a sign where they place down the sign and write, "Pea kinda tastes good." What the? Well, they then begin shaking their head up and down. Even though I'm not gonna lie, this speedrunner is a weirdo. They begin running away from the sign and randomly jump into this lake. They swim around for a little bit until they find this weird hole. And inside the hole is the weirdest things I have ever seen in my entire life. We got a broken portal, tons of random buttons, and striders in jail. Like, what the heck is going on? The speedrunner goes over to the striders and then starts punching all of them for literally no reason. They then begin pressing a bunch of random buttons, and then they jump into the portal. Once they're in the end, we can see this very weird path, which I don't think is naturally generated. The speedrunner goes across the path, and eventually they're on the main island. Once there, we can see that there's no enderman. Not only that, there's no ender dragon, but there is a sign that says the ender dragon is busy celebrating Christmas. I'm pretty sure we're in July, not December, so this literally makes no sense. Well, the speedrunner ignores that and just jumps into the portal. This speedrun starts in a plains biome. The speedrunner then turns around where they find a village. Now, first of all, this could just be a very lucky spawn. Well, the speedrunner heads into the village and they find a blacksmith. So the speedrunner enters the blacksmith and loots the chest. And inside the chest is technically legit loot because they found full iron armor, and that is extremely lucky, but we have no proof that they cheated that into the game. Well, the speedrunner takes most of the loot from the chest, but wait a minute, if we look inside their inventory, we can see all the items that they just got from the chest. But they also have 2 netherite. But if we look back inside the chest, there was not 2 netherite inside of it. So where did they get 2 netherite from? from? Well, if we rewind the footage to exactly here, we can see that they actually picked up netherite right before they opened the chest, which in case you didn't know is actually not legit. But the speedrunner puts on all of their iron armor and leaves the blacksmith. They begin walking down a path, but wait. Just pausing the video here, we can see two things extremely wrong. Firstly, being the crafting table, because random crafting tables don't just spawn like this, but there's also a floating pig. Like what? I'm pretty sure pigs don't fly. I think. Well, the speedrunner enters the crafting table and makes himself a shield. They begin walking down the path some more and they completely ignore the pig. Well, I guess the speedrunner just didn't see the floating pig, right? Maybe? I don't know. The speedrunner goes up to another house, but wait, this staircase looks a little bit weird. Well, the speedrunner ignores the staircase and enters the house where they find 3 beds, which is definitely not suspicious at all. But there's also a diamond sword, because of course there is. The speedrunner takes the diamond sword and breaks all 3 beds. They leave the house and steal 2 hay bales. They wander around the village for quite some time until they enter another villager's house and find a chest which has a rabbit foot. Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say about this. It's just a rabbit foot. They take the rabbit foot and exit the house. But wait, did you see that? As soon as they went to exit the house, we can see a floating sheep. I didn't even know sheep could fly. And you know, I'm starting to think that this world might actually just be cursed, because what happens later is absolutely crazy. Well, the speedrunner takes some carrots from a farm and they randomly go inside of the forest. And that's when they find a ruin portal that's already lit. But wait, do you notice anything weird about this ruin portal? Because I do. First of all, there's no chest, and every ruin portal always has a chest. Not only that, but there's also several pieces of nether golden ore, which ruin portals definitely do not spawn that. So I'm thinking that this speedrunner just made this ruin portal themselves, and they did a terrible job. Well, the speedrunner enters the nether portal, and they get a pretty lucky nether spawn because they're literally in the fortress. But something is very, very weird about this fortress, because we can see a nether quartz path on the ground, which is obviously fake. Of course, the speedrunner follows the path, which brings them right to some blazes. The speedrunner starts absolutely destroying the blazes, and at one point they look around for 2 seconds where we can see a floating chicken. Yes, a floating chicken in the nether. That makes sense. But of course the speedrunner ignores the floating chicken and kills some more blazes. They get 1 blaze rod and start heading back towards the portal. But if you've ever played Minecraft before, you know that you're definitely gonna need more than just 1 blaze rod. Well, they go in the portal, and once they're back in the overworld, they start heading back towards the village. But whoa. How does the speedrunner have 9 blaze rods? Because we literally just saw them only have 1. So this part of the speedrun is definitely not legit. Well, once the speedrunner is back in the village, we can see some mushrooms on this wood, which further proves my point that this world is definitely cursed. And not only that, we find this weird dead bush thingy on the ground. The speedrunner then breaks the bush and digs directly beneath it, and the speedrunner starts falling down super duper fast. They might die, but they land in some water. Not only that, they're also in the trial chambers area, which is extremely rare. They look around for a little bit in absolute disbelief. But did you see that? If we rewind the footage and pause it here, we can see what appears to be a villager. But I'm pretty sure villagers aren't in the trials chamber area, because villagers can only spawn in end cities. So a villager being right here literally makes no sense. Well, the speedrunner goes up the staircase where they find an end portal. But something is very, very off about this end portal. They're missing 3 end frames. And without those 3 end frames, they literally cannot go to the end. But don't you worry, because they find a barrel that has the 3 end frames that they need and a stack of ender pearls, which is pretty darn fake. The speedrunner turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes himself 12 eyes of ender. They place in all the eyes of ender and enter the end. Once you're in the end, they build towards the middle island and they start running towards the dragon. But once again, we can see a floating animal, but this time it's a cow. But not only that, we also see that there's no ender dragon, but instead there's a very weird looking portal in the middle. So the speedrunner just jumps into the portal and beats the speedrun. This speedrunner starts in a plains biome. They find an iron golem, even though I'm pretty sure iron golems only spawn inside of villages, not in the middle of a forest. So the speedrunner somehow one-hits the iron golem, and at first I was pretty confused, but then I realized that the speedrunner was Mr. Krabs, so it makes sense. Well, Mr. Krabs uses the iron he got to make himself a bucket, and he throws the bucket at a lava pool, which makes another portal, even though I'm not sure that's how that works, but okay. He enters the nether and finds a fortress chest, which somehow has diamonds, even though diamonds cannot spawn inside of another fortress chest. Oh my god, wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not even even halfway there, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean the world to me. This speedrun starts in a desert. The speedrunner turns around and finds a desert pyramid, which right off the bat is a lucky spawn, but not only that, they're also next to a village, which makes this spawn even luckier. Well, the speedrunner enters the pyramid and starts digging down when they suddenly land on the pressure plate, but for some reason, nothing happens. Well, the speedrunner loots every single chest, and they actually find surprisingly some normal loot. Just some golden apples, some sand blocks, and emeralds. Nothing out of the ordinary. But they use the sand blocks to get out of the pyramid, and they make their way towards the village. Once there, they enter a house and find some leather armor, which once again is normal loot. But everything changes whenever they enter this house, which has a chest that normally is not in this house. Not only that, the chest has diamonds, iron, sticks, and an iron chestplate, which I'm not gonna lie is definitely fake. They take all the loot and put on the iron chestplate. They then make a crafting table, turn their iron nuggets into an iron ingot, and make themselves an iron pickaxe. They also make themselves a diamond sword. They break their crafting table and start exploring around the village. But wait, did you see that? This house right here has some obsidian sticking out of it, which is obviously not normal. The speedrunner makes her way towards that house and turns out it's actually a nether portal. The only problem is that it's not lit and the speedrunner doesn't have a flint and steel. So look around the house a little bit until they find a flint and steel. Wow, I definitely did not see that coming. They take the flint and steel and light the nether portal. Once they're in the nether, they realize that they got a pretty unlucky spawn. So the speedrunner makes her way towards a wall and just mines her way into it and looks at the wall and then turns around and mines the blocks that they just broke, but now they're in the fortress, which logically speaking makes no sense. So they also found a chest, and inside the chest is tons of eyes of ender. What the heck? You don't even need that many eyes of ender. Well, either way, this speedrunner takes all of the eyes of ender and looks to the right and finds a nether portal. So obviously they go through the nether portal and they spawn in the middle of nowhere. Or at least that's what I thought until they found a random portal on the ground. Even though I'm pretty sure these portals spawn way deeper in the ground than this. Well, the speedrunner places in all of their eyes of ender and enters the end. Once you're in the end, they find a very weird staircase. But that is the least of my concerns right now, because if you look at the top of the screen, we can see an ender dragon's health and a wither's health. I didn't think withers spawned in the end, but I don't know, it could have been in the newest update. The speedrunner tries to kill the wither and just keeps on trying to smack it. And the wither does not like this at all, so the wither starts killing the speedrunner, and the speedrunner gets extremely low. So they eat their last golden apple, but it's not enough to save them, because not only do they have the wither killing them, they also have an enderman and the ender dragon. And the speedrunner just ends up dying to the ender dragon, which I'm not gonna lie is pretty embarrassing. This first speedrun starts off pretty normal because they're right next to a village. And the first thing they do is run into the village and steal some farmers' crops. Once they finish stealing all of the food, they suddenly see a panda. But the thing is, pandas only spawn inside of super hot biomes, like the desert or the nether. So a panda being right here is extremely rare. Well, the speedrunner picks up an egg dropped from a chicken and throws it right at the iron golem, which does not make him very happy as he starts chasing down the speedrunner. So in fear, the speedrunner runs away until they finally go in a house which has a chest. Now, at first, this would seem pretty normal until you realize that this specific house inside of a village never has any chests, which makes me believe that they placed down this chest here before the speedrun started. And this is even more proven because whenever they open the chest, they find some weird loot, like an iron pickaxe, an iron helmet, an iron sword, one iron ingot, and iron pants. Loot that could only spawn if this was a blacksmith. So this loot has to be fake. Well, they take all of this loot, put on the iron armor, and go around the village a little bit more until they find an actual blacksmith. And in the chest is a calibrated skulk sensor. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't even know that was a thing. Where they take this calibrated skulk sensor and start heading out of the village. That's when they suddenly see a ruined portal down in this river. So the speedrun safely makes their way down the hill, and once they make it to the ruined portal, they open the chest and find some actually pretty normal loot. They take all of this loot and use the flint that they got from this ruined portal and the iron ingot to make themselves a flint and steel. They also got one obsidian from the chest, which is the exact right amount they needed for the ruined portal, which you could argue is just a coincidence, but I'm honestly not too sure. They finish the ruined portal and go into the nether. Now, once they're in the nether, they get a pretty lucky spawn because they spawned right next to a fortress. But instead of going inside the fortress, the speedrunner instead decides to dig on the side of it. That's when they suddenly find some gold blocks. And trust me, there is a lot of gold blocks. They get them all, which is like 13 stacks of gold blocks, and they make them into gold ingots. They then dig open this hole to reveal tons of piglins, which is definitely not scripted at all. They then drop all of their gold ingots onto the piglins and leave them there as they go adventure into the fortress. Now, before they really get into the fortress, some weird stuff is going on because we can see tons of random holes throughout the entirety of the fortress, which I believe is actually a trail. And I have a weird feeling that this trail is gonna lead them to the blaze spawner. And if my guess is is correct, I would highly recommend subscribing. Well, the speedrunner follows the trail for quite some time until eventually they find the blaze spawner, which means I was right and you should honestly subscribe because it genuinely helps me out so much. Now, for some reason, the blazes aren't really spawning at this blaze spawner, so the speedrunner digs out the holes so that way blazes can actually spawn. And once they do, the speedrunner starts killing them. And on their first 2 kills, they get 2 blaze rods, which is not impossible, but extremely lucky because we all know someone else who got extremely lucky with some blaze rods, where they continue to just keep on fighting all the blazes until something very, very weird happens. Because the speedrunner gets extremely low and even down to half a heart. But a sudden cut happens and we can see all of the loot moved around, and they also magically gained almost a full level of XP, which doesn't usually happen. So my guess here is that the speedrunner died but decided to instead cut it out. But the speedrunner starts making their way back towards their nether portal. But this is when I realized something very suspicious. Because right before the cut happened, the speedrunner had 4 blaze rods, and now they have 6. So I also feel as though they gave themselves some blaze rods, which is actually against the rules of speedrunning. But once they finally make it back towards their portal, they go to check their trades with the piglins. And to say the trades were not very good would be an understatement, because they only got 5 ender pearls, and they need at most 12. So instead of trading some more with the piglins, they instead just leave the nether. Now that they're back in the overworld, they start exploring in some completely random direction. And if I paused the video here and told you that something suspicious was in this screenshot, you would probably think I'm lying, because at first glance it seems pretty normal. That is until we see this little patch of pumpkins, because whenever the speedrunner goes up to the pumpkins, they go to this very specific pumpkin and dig straight down below it. That's when they find themselves in the stronghold. Yeah, this definitely looks like a real stronghold. There's even a sign that says Ral Stronghold, so it's gotta be real. Okay, the speedrunner at least tried to make it seem like it was a real stronghold, but I'm gonna be honest, this is absolutely terrible. The speedrunner opens up their inventory and we can see that they now have 12 ender pearls, even though whenever they were trading, they only had 5. So I guess at some point during the speed run, they must have given themselves some ender pearls, where they make themselves some eyes of ender and place in all of the eyes and enter the end. To say this end fight was close would honestly be generous, because the speedrunner doesn't hit the ender dragon a single time. They instead start randomly building up and build this weird structure out of obsidian and crying obsidian, and even place down their skulk sensor. They then start punching their skulk sensor until they suddenly type inside chat /kill@A. But before they do that, they change their game mode to creative and then they type it, because this is supposed to kill every entity inside of the game. And if the speedrunner is in creative, it won't kill them, right? Well, actually wrong, because the speedrunner types in this command and it actually kills him. And at this point, the speedrunner is just mad, so they just give up and the speedrun just ends there. The speedrunner starts by mining a tree, but the tree is falling. Okay. Well, they then go into a cave and open an emerald. Wait, what? Oh my god, this is the wrong footage. I am so sorry. If you could do me a huge favor and subscribe, that would genuinely make my day. This speedrunner starts by choosing their world, and they go to click on a world that they already created. And if we look closely, the world says it's in creative. Not only that, but there's also cheats, which is against the rules of speedrunning. Well, the speedrunner clicks on the world, and once they spawn in, their spawn seems pretty normal. That is until they turn around and they're in a village. They start heading around the village, and for some reason, the villagers are growing birch trees. I've never heard of that before, but maybe it's in the newest update. Well, the speedrunner goes inside of a pen where there's a cow and a tree, and they start mining the tree. They mine some logs, and underneath the last log is actually a chest. So the speedrunner opens the chest, which has full diamond armor and some diamond tools, which if you ask me is 100% legit. They take all the armor and the tools and put on the armor, and then they start spam clicking on the iron golem. But if we look back at the very start of the speedrun, they were on version 1.20, which means that spam clicking doesn't even do any damage. So the speedrunner sits here for a very long time, constantly hitting the iron golem until eventually it dies. They pick up the iron and then head inside of a house to steal one singular potato. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. They begin heading out of the village until they find a lava pool and a nether portal that's already lit for some reason. So like any normal person, they're obviously gonna go inside of the portal. And the speedrunner got a lucky spawn because they're in the fortress. So they start heading down the path of the fortress until they find a chest and a sign. And the sign says happy birthday. So I guess it's the speedrunner's birthday. And inside the chest is some eyes of ender. Dang, this is one lucky speedrunner. They take all the eyes of ender, and as they turn, we can see an end portal in the nether, which is very strange. But the speedrunner makes their way back towards the portal and enters the overworld. Once they're back in the overworld, they find this waterfall. So of course they climb it and they swim into the hole where they find this secret base. And there's also a lectern with a book. The speedrunner clicks on the book and the book says, "Congratulations." I I didn't even know that was a word, but okay.
You did found the Mr. PP the Greats Jr. the Second the Great's secret base. This base is a secret base.
Wow, it's a good thing they said this base is a secret base 2 separate times back to back, or else I would have had no idea. Good job, Mr. Speedrunner.
To find the end portal, you must first do riddle on the next page. The riddle is on the next page. Once again, they said it 2 times, just in case we forgot it was on the next page like 2 seconds later. Well, the speedrunner goes to the next page, and it says, what you looked for is under the lectern thingy. And there's also a hint that says it's under the lectern.
Even though this riddle was super duper hard, the speedrunner figures it out and breaks underneath the lectern to find whatever monstrosity this is. It's like an end portal, but it's not. I don't really know. Well, either way, the speedrunner jumps into it. They start building up and head towards the middle of the island. That's when we realize that there are no endermen. Not only that, but there's also no ender dragon. And the portal is already lit. But instead of going inside of it like a normal speedrunner would, they instead click on the egg. They then grab a torch and place it under the egg, so that way they now have the egg. But instead of leaving the end with the egg, they instead travel towards the edge of the map and throw the only egg in the entire game of Minecraft off the edge. You have to be a lunatic to do that. Well, now that they did that, they go towards the portal and just simply beat the speedrun. If you enjoyed that video, I would highly recommend clicking this video because this video is even cooler.